in the series of compensation and benefits, we learnt about various aspects of downsizing, which is a strategic tool that can be used by organizations to lay off its employees because of the economic downturn or certain other factors that may impact the organization. So, in the previous lecture, we learnt about what is downsizing, what are the reasons why organizations opt for downsizing, what are the methods that can be used, what is the human resource management's role in bringing about downsizing effectively for the organization, so that the drastic or the detrimental impact on the people could be lessened. Because whenever you are laying off your people, it would certainly impact the emotional and psychological aspect of an individual, the ones who are being laid off and even the ones who are left behind. So, we have studied all these aspects of downsizing in the previous lecture. Coming to what we are going to learn today is another strategic tool used by organizations, which is VRS, that is Voluntary Retirement Scheme. So, we will learn about all the aspects of VRS in this lecture today. So, VRS typically stands for, as I just said, Voluntary Retirement Scheme or Voluntary Retirement Service, and it is a program that is initiated by organizations where employees are given the option to voluntarily retire from their roles or their positions, getting certain financial incentives or benefits from the organization. So, it is commonly used as a strategy for organizations to manage their workforce, control the costs, or even streamline certain operations. So, let us understand some key aspects related to the VRS. Number one, as the name itself suggests, that it is voluntary in nature, meaning that employees choose to participate based on their own decision. So, it is not something which is being done forcefully or any decision that is being imposed on them, rather it is voluntary in nature. So, as an employee you can opt to retire, so nobody is forcing you to retire. Second is the financial incentives. So, employees who opt for VRS, they receive financial incentives which could include a lump sum payment, or it can be enhanced pension benefits, or it can be any other monetary compensations depending, or it can vary from the organization to organization depending on certain terms and conditions. Now, what is the objective of a VRS? The primary objective of VRS is to reduce the size of the workforce in a cost effective and non-coercive manner. So, what we learnt in the previous lecture was downsizing, which is a more coercive manner, because you are just being laid off, you might be terminated, you might be laid off, you might be retrenched. So, all these methods are more coercive, whereas VRS is a non-coercive method and at the same time it is cost effective. It can be part of an organization's strategy to downsize or to restructure. Cost saving is yet another feature. So, organizations may use VRS as a way to achieve cost savings in the long term by reducing the number of employees and associated operational expenses. So, see, be it downsizing or be it a VRS, ultimately you are reducing the number of employees, which will be associated to operational expenses or reduced operational expenses. So, yes, VRS is also associated with operational expenses. Now, let us talk about the legal compliance. So, the implementation of a VRS must comply with labor laws and regulations. It should be fair and transparent, and it must adhere to all the legal requirements, keeping in mind the legal environment of the organization. And if we talk about the communication, just like downsizing, here also I would say that a clear and transparent communication is extremely crucial during the implementation of VRS. So, organizations need to provide detailed information to employees about the terms and conditions, the benefits, the implications of the voluntary retirement program. So, even if you have a voluntary retirement program in place in your organization, but it has to be communicated to the people that this is something that is there in the organization. If you opt for VRS, these are the kind of benefits that you might get. So, that has to be clearly, transparently communicated to the people as well. Then talking about the impact on remaining employees. So, just like your downsizing, VRS does have impact on the remaining employees, but it is not as coercive as downsizing. So, VRS can have an impact on the morale and workload of remaining employees. Organizations should consider strategies to address potential challenges and maintain a positive work environment. So, since this is an optional thing, it is something which you are doing out of your own choice, your decision. So, the impact is not that negative as compared to the one we learnt for the downsizing. Moving further, the strategic considerations. So, VRS should align with the organization's strategic goals and workforce planning. It may be part of a broader effort to reshape the organization, or you can respond to changes in the business environment. So, we learned this in the previous lecture also, that because of so much of instability, because of the VUCA environment in which the organizations are operating, the business environment of an organization is strategically and drastically changing. So, to keep up with that kind of an environment, organizations have to consider such options. Coming to employee transition support. So, here also if an employee is opting for a VRS, you can still give them the outplacement assistance, career counseling or training programs to facilitate their transition to any further new opportunities that they might be seeking. Now, what are the merits of VRS? Number one is cost reduction. So, VRS, it allows organizations to reduce their workforce, and certainly when the workforce is reduced, the associated costs are also reduced. But again, without resorting to involuntary layoffs, because layoffs are involuntary, nobody opts or nobody wants to be laid off, right? Nobody wants to be terminated, but VRS is, again, as I said, it is a voluntary action. So, when we are taking up layoffs or terminations, that can be more expensive, and at the same time it could be legally challenging. So, talking about the strategic restructuring, by aligning the workforce with the current business needs and goals, and there is improved efficiency. With a more streamlined workforce, organizations may experience an increased operational efficiency. Then employee morale boost. How it happens? By providing an option for those who are willing to voluntarily exit the organization, reducing the anxiety associated with potential layoffs. So, when we talk of layoffs, when we talk of termination, when we talk of retrenchment, all these methods of downsizing, they are associated with a lot of disrespect, lot of maybe anxiety and stress. But in comparison to all these methods, and if we talk of VRS, it is felt that here the employees feel less of anxiety because they are opting out of the organization by their own sweet will. Next is the talent pool adjustment. So, retaining employees with critical skills and encouraging the exit of those whose skills may no longer align with organizational needs. So, in this method you are actually trying to encourage the exit of those employees or those people who haven't upskilled themselves and who no longer align with the organizational objectives and needs, and you are retaining the ones who have the critical skills. So, this is a very intelligent way of kind of downsizing or limiting your workforce only to the employees with critical skills and letting go the other ones who are who might have become redundant now. Avoiding layoffs, this is another feature of VRS. So, VRS is seen as a more humane alternative to layoffs because layoffs are more coercive, as I said. This is a more humane alternative as employees have the option to leave voluntarily with financial benefits. So, it is a win-win situation for both the employee as well as the organization. Employees, they are doing it voluntarily, they would be getting financial benefits of course, and the organization is relieved of the extra financial burdens. Then is the loss of skilled workforce. Okay, then VRS may result in the loss of experienced and skilled employees, potentially impacting the organization's knowledge base and the competitiveness. This is one of the negative impacts. And talking about the negative impact on the remaining employees. So, of course, there is the implementation cost. So, implementing a VRS involves certain costs such as the severance pay and other benefits which can impact the organization's short term financial positions. Then there can be legal and ethical concerns if you are not able to handle the VRS process in a proper and an effective manner. So, mishandling the VRS process can lead to legal challenges, especially if the criteria are perceived as discriminatory or if the employee rights are not protected. So, again this is a slippery road where the organizations must take care of. Then is the potential skills gap. Again, if not strategically planned, the VRS may result in a skills gap where departing employees possess critical skills that are challenging to be replaced. Now, we just learned that we can keep the people who have critical skills and let go the other ones who are not that skilled. But what if the skilled person wants to leave the organization? So, that is why this has to be done in a very strategic and an intelligently planned manner. So, you must not let people with critical skills leave the organization. Then resistance and low participation. So, employees may be resistant to the idea of voluntary retirement and how participation rates may limit the effectiveness of the scheme in achieving the cost savings. So, that also has to be taken care of. So, that was all about the VRS scheme. So, we learnt as to what is VRS, what are the benefits of VRS. Moving further, the next topic for the day is the benefits and incentive schemes. So, benefits and incentive schemes, they play a pivotal role in modern organizations, serving as strategic tools to attract, retain and motivate employees. So, whenever we are looking out for a job or we are changing from one job, one organization to the other, we always look forward to what are the kinds of incentives that we would be getting, what are the kind of benefits, and we often compare our existing benefits to the benefits that the other organization is offering. So, that means that giving competitive benefits is also a strategic tool to attract, retain and motivate employees. So, these programs, they go beyond the traditional compensation structures, encompassing a wide array of offerings that contribute to employee well-being, job satisfaction and even the overall engagement of an employee in the organization during the tenure. Another interesting concept when we talk of benefits and incentives is the linking of pay to performance. Now, this is a compensation strategy where an employee's salary or bonuses are directly tied to their performance and their contribution to the organization. So, that means simply if you are performing well, you would be getting higher bonuses or even the salary, but if you are not performing well, you are not contributing much towards the organization's goals, then your bonuses would be lesser as expected. So, this concept, it emphasizes the principle that employees who perform better and achieve higher results should be rewarded proportionally. Now, how do we bring about, or what are the benefits of linking pay to performance? Number one is the alignment of goals. By linking pay to performance, you are ensuring that the goals of the employees align with the objectives of the organization. Very crucial whenever we talk of recruitment, training, selection, anything, we always ensure as HR professionals that the employees' goals must be aligned with the goals of the organization or the objectives of the organization. So, if there is no sync between the goals of the organization and the employees, you cannot be rewarded, because I am doing something else, my organization wants something else, but I am happy because I am contributing a lot from my point of view. But if what I am doing does not help my organization achieve its goal, I am doing nothing in the eyes of the organization. So, that alignment has to be there. And when employees are aware that their compensation is directly linked to their performance, they are more likely to focus on the tasks and the projects that contribute to the overall success of the company. So, as an employee, if I am not aware as to what my compensable factors are, what I need to do to make the organization achieve its goals, and what would happen if I am performing well, if I am getting the same salary every month and I am not rewarded, then I won't be working that hard. So, that awareness also has to be there, that employees have to be or they have to be made aware that their compensation is being linked to their performance. Then of course, it brings motivation and engagement. So, it serves as a powerful motivator for employees to perform at their best. So, when you know that your efforts will be recognized and rewarded significantly, your morale would be high, you would be satisfied in your job, and your engagement level would also be enhanced. And when all of this happens, when your morale is high, when you are satisfied, when you are engaged, when you are passionately working for the organization, this would further lead to higher levels of productivity and overall performance within the organization. So, what is organization's performance? It is ultimately the performance of the individual people working for the organization. So, when everyone is working towards higher achievement of goals, are performing better, so that would lead to the better performance of the organization itself. Then is the merit based compensation. So, linking pay to performance, it promotes a culture of meritocracy within the organization. So, it is not that every Tom, Dick and Harry would be getting the equal amount of bonus, everybody is given a salary hike. No, when you are linking pay to performance, that will promote a culture of meritocracy, means only the people who are performing well would get a salary hike or a bonus. So, employees are compensated based on their individual contributions and achievements rather than factors such as seniority or tenure. So, your seniority here would not be compensated, or your longer tenure would not be recognized. So, your seniority does not mean that you are performing well or you are contributing towards the achievement of the organizational goals. So, this encourages employees to continuously improve their skills and strive for excellence. Another important benefit that comes out of linking pay to performance is the retention of top talent. So, high performing employees, they are more likely to stay with an organization that recognizes and rewards their contributions. As an employee, if your contribution, if your efforts are not recognized, then you would certainly look out for some other opportunities, you would look out for greener pastures. But when you feel that your contributions are rewarded, they are recognized, you are being appreciated, and apart from that, you are being given some monetary benefits also, that would help you to retain within the organization. So, linking pay to performance can help in retaining top talent by offering competitive compensation packages that reflect their value to the company. So, you feel more valuable. So, this reduces the turnover rates and the costs which are associated with hiring and of course training new employees. So, no organization would want to keep on hiring new people, keep on training them, because that involves a lot of cost. Organization wants to retain the top talented people. So, linking your pay to performance is another very strategic tool whereby you can reduce the attrition rate. Then with this system, there is a clear performance expectations. So, when your pay is linked to your performance, there is a clear understanding of what is expected from you as an employee in terms of performance and results. And this clarity helps in setting realistic goals and objectives, providing employees with a roadmap for success and guiding their efforts towards achieving the desired outcome. So, that clarity comes to your mind that okay, I need to do this and this will enhance my performance. So, this is how performing better would help me to earn better. So, when that clarity is there, of course, it helps you in setting goals which are more realistic. You are clear as to what you have to go, where you have to go and how you have to go. So, it clearly brings a roadmap in front of you. Then it fosters a culture of accountability. So, employees are held accountable for their performance when their pay is directly tied to it. And this encourages individuals to take ownership of their work, be proactive in seeking solutions to challenges, and even take up more responsibility for the outcomes of their actions. So, it brings a culture of accountability. So, thus friends, we can say that linking pay to performance is a strategic approach to compensation that offers numerous benefits for both the employees as well as the organizations. So, employees, their morale is boosted, they are more satisfied in their jobs, they are more engaged in the job, they bring about passion in their work, they are emotionally attached, and when all of this is happening, the productivity of the employee would enhance. And at the end of the day, every organization wants satisfied, engaged, passionate employees for their organization, so that they can achieve their goals, they can bring in excellence in whatever they are doing. So, by rewarding employees based on their contributions, now here we are not talking about their seniority, we are talking about their contribution, what they are bringing to the table, what they are achieving. So, by this organizations can drive performance, they can foster a culture of excellence, of accountability, and achieve their business objectives more effectively. So, it is, as I said, it is a win-win situation. The employees are winning because their morale is boosted, they are engaged, they are happy, they are satisfied. And at the same time, it is a win situation for the organization itself, because the organization has these kind of people who are passionate about their job, who are satisfied in their job, who are performing well, who are helping your organization develop a culture of excellence, of accountability, of achievements. So, this is a win-win situation. So, we will talk about other aspects of linking pay to performance in the next part of the lecture. Thank you.